Too many cameras, or not enough shelf? I think I'll get a bigger shelf. Well, hello, it's Dexter and me again, back on your screens from rainy and not so sunny lockdown here in South Wales. Yep, the weather's broken this week. The hot weather's gone away to be replaced by typical Welsh summer weather of cold temperatures, rain and wind. Still, it's good for the garden, I guess. You know, you're getting old when you say things like that. Anyway, on to the point of today's video, and that is a comparison of the 3 cameras I currently own. And I thought it would be appropriate to do this now that I've got my crop sensor X-T3, the full frame D700, and the medium format beast that is the Fujifilm GFX50R. Now it's a bit of an unfair comparison, I know, because the D700 is now, what, 14 years old, 13, 14 years old. The X-T3 and the GFX are mere babies by comparison. So obviously technology has moved on a long way. But I think it's a fair comparison because the images that the D700 produces have their own, to me anyway, unique analog look. A look that sometimes I prefer compared to digital images. Now, one of the reasons I bought into Fujifilm is because of the look of the Fujifilm files. They have that old-fashioned analog look, if you like. So in that respect, I think this comparison is a fair one. Looking at the physical factors of the camera, and I'll pop a little chart up now, it's plain to see that the D700 does now lag behind. I mean, it's only got 12 megapixels, it's big, it's heavy, it's cumbersome, it's only got one compact flash card slot, but that's to be expected when you compare a vintage, if you like, digital camera against its more modern counterparts. Now, when you come to image quality, it's a different thing, because image quality is obviously subjective. I'm not one of these camera testers, because I can't test cameras, but I'm not a pixel peeper, and I'm not the sort of person that would look at test shots of, you know, sort of a jack of spades and a ruler and some other things, or resolution charts, or whatever, what they call, is it MTF charts? I'm not interested in those sorts of things at all. What I'm interested in is the soul of an image, and for me, all 3 cameras produce that soul. Now, what I've done is I've shot a couple of images. I've done a headshot of my long-suffering wife, bless her. She modelled for me, and I've done a shot of my garden, or a part of my garden. The reason I chose the headshot is because some of you asked for it, and you want to be able to compare the skin tones that each camera produces. I'm not a portrait photographer. I don't know anything about skin tones. It doesn't interest me at all. As long as people don't look green or magenta, then I think the camera's done a reasonably good job. I'm not going to comment on the headshots. The straight out of camera raw files are on screen right now, and you can draw your own conclusions from those. The garden shot I chose because it's quite a complex scene for a camera to capture. There are areas of bright light where the sunlight has caught the light petals of the clematis as it grows up the garage, and at the foot of the image then there are dark shadow areas. Now, I should have said, for both these images the cameras were set up comparably. I can't say identically because of the different sensor sizes, but I tried to get them as close as I could, and certainly in terms of things like ISO and metering, they were all set up exactly the same, and white balance as well. Now for the garden scene, I took my meter reading from the very, very brightest part of the scene. And I think it's quite easy to see, from my eyes anyway, that the GFX50R and the XT3 to a lesser extent have left the D700 behind. The GFX and the XT3, while retaining that highlight detail, have also retained the deep, deep blacks in the garden ornament at the foot of the scene, which the Nikon D700 just can't do. And that's down to age now, I guess, down to the sensor and the image processor. But again, you can draw your own conclusions. And landscape-wise, obviously I've not been able to get out to do a landscape comparison, which irks me because I am a landscape photographer first and foremost, and I loved shooting landscape images with my D700. They just had a look which I liked, which I loved, to be honest. It's hard to put your finger on it because, as I said, it's a subjective thing. Some people may not like the D700 images. I loved them. What I'll do now is I'll pop up a couple of images on screen. Again, these are two straight out of camera raw sunrise shots at Mumble's Head, in quite difficult conditions. Obviously it's going to be dark. Whatever light there is backlighting the lighthouse and the rocks. And I'll also now pop up two very, very rough and ready quick edits that I did, principally to show that the Nikon D700 has captured that shadow detail. It is there to be brought out. Now it's not as clean and as nice and as pleasing as the shadow detail from my GFX or XT3, and that's to be expected. Again, they are modern cameras, modern sensors and modern image processors compared to the vintage, if you like now, Nikon D700. But images are not about pixel peeping and technical qualities. They're about how they grab you and how they make you feel. And the D700 still grabs me by the heartstrings, if you like. And I love the landscape images that this camera produces, and I can't wait to get back out and do a comparison again to see if I've wasted thousands of pounds on my GFX. No, I'm sure that's not the case. I love my GFX50R and the images that produces as well. My D700 I bought principally for macro work, so I'm not going to invest in any new lenses for that, trust me. Finally, and most subjectively of all, I guess, is which one of these is my favourite camera. My favourite camera to hold, my favourite camera to use, and my favourite camera to look at the images. When you take all those three things into a package, then my favourite, the one that I find myself reaching for most of all, is my XT3. It's a lovely, lovely camera. It's light. It's like using a precision instrument to do a job. It's light, easy to carry, easy to use. The controls are light. It's very analog. It's very simple. It's just lovely, a lovely, lovely thing to use. Cool factor though. What's the coolest camera of the three? I think it's got to be the D700 because of its age. Because you're shooting with a classic Nikon body. Probably one of the most important cameras Nikon ever made. And that's not subjective, that's beyond doubt. It is one of the most important digital cameras Nikon ever made. And for that reason, it's the coolest to use. The GFX50R is a brick, it's a tool. It's the right tool for a job. It's not a cool camera. It certainly isn't cool to look at. But it does probably produce the best images, to be honest. Anyway, that's it. Those are my ramblings for this video. Either you agree with them or you don't. If you agree with them, hey, that's great. If you don't agree with them, then you're wrong. No. If you don't agree with them, then that's great as well. Photography, cameras, it's sort of subjective. We all have our own opinions. And it's only your own opinion that matters, to be honest. Anyway, as usual, thanks very much for watching. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all staying virus-free and stress-free and coping with whatever restrictions you have in place. I hope you found this video in some way helpful, entertaining, interesting even. Whether you have or you haven't though, thanks very much again for watching, and Dexter and I will see you again very, very soon. Bye bye.
Only 17, I fell in love with a gypsy queen. She told me, hold on. My father was the leading man, said you're not welcome on our land. And then as a foe, he told me to go. To a little shack and put a whip across my back, then told her, leave me. I was out for quite a time, came back with her on my mind. Sweet little girl.